have in the hot seat with the usual suspects, riding shotgun as always, my co-host Digger Jim. Jim, how are you this evening, sir?
Doing fantastic. Doing fantastic.
All right, and our guest of the evening, as of coming on tonight, he was at 89 subs. Let's try to get him to his first 100 marker, guys. His in the description below are his links. Please sub him up and follow him on IG as well. And we have Tony from Comiverse on. Tony, how are you doing, sir? We
Pretty
are going to
good,
make you
Gary. How you
great.
doing?
I am doing well. So,
How you
been
doing,
watching
Digger?
your channel
Good.
and really like your editing. It's way past my skills.
Yeah.
For those who are getting to know you, give a real quick description of who Tony is and what your channel's about, sir.
Well, Tony's just a guy that works at a turkey factory, takes care of his family, and Comiverse is just a group that originally I started 9 years ago on Facebook, and I just wanted to have a group or have a channel where I just had a place where I could share my love of comics. And I don't have a lot of people I can talk to about comics around here, but it's good to just be able to just talk about comics.
Right on. Right on.
Right. And we're gonna before we get going, we're gonna say a quick hi to the people that are starting to pop in. Everyone's starting to get their notifications. First in the building, as always, it's not right on YouTube. If this dude's not first, then the whole YouTube algorithm's thrown off. It doesn't
Yeah.
make any sense. We have Las Cruces. Good evening, sir. Always nice to see you. When he's first, you know your show's going to be just fine.
That's right.
We got Pocan Joe. Good evening, buddy.
Pocan Joe.
We got Dope Comics, one of the best, no, not one of the best, the best horror collection on YouTube.
No doubt. I mean,
Not
Tony,
one of the best, the
if
best.
you haven't looked at Dope's collection, you got to go over and check out his channel. It's insane. And I'm not a big horror guy, but he makes me want to wow, look at that book. I kind of want it now.
Right?
Yeah.
And also another great guy that's into horror. We have Nicholas from One Shot Comics. Good evening, sir. Big Alien fan, as am I. And we've had many conversations about aliens. John Carpenter's The Thing, which I may have watched once or twice or 700 times. Who knows? I lose track. Comics by the Bay. Matthew, how you doing? Comic Man Andy. Good evening, sir. Nice to see you. All right, we are going to get going, and we'll keep saying hi as people pop in. It takes a few minutes. But the first question, because people are still getting to know you, Tony, is we're gonna start with a few basic ones so people understand who you are. What got you into comics?
Okay, well, actually, what got me into comics was my love of reading. I've always been a reader since I was very little. I actually read Bram Stoker's Dracula when I was 9 years old, and I enjoyed it. I've always had a fascination with vampires since I was 9. I seen Halloween when I was 8 years old. Kind of
I was that horror kid too.
Yeah, I mean, I just grew up with horror and just fantasy and stuff like that. But now, early on, I collected. I didn't really collect. I just bought like a few books here and there. I bought Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends #1 was like the first book I think I bought. Then there was like a Kool-Aid Man book.
Nice.
It's like
first
but I think what really got me to want to collect, or I never really thought of it as collecting when I first started, was in '87. I went to the grocery store with my aunt. She was watching us at the time, and I seen a stack of comics, and the first one that caught my eye was Captain America number 333. And I just love the cover. I picked that up. I picked up a Spider-Man. I think it was 292. And then Fallen Angel is one of those, which I didn't know what a mutant was. I didn't know what X-Men were or anything.
Wow.
Right.
So I mean,
oh yeah, I mean, when it come to comics, I didn't know. All I knew about superheroes was what I watched on cartoons, and when I'd watch the Incredible Hulk on NBC and whatnot. But I read those books, and I just wanted to keep buying more and more. And my aunt was a big supporter when I first started. She got me my first subscription to Captain America, and it just went from there, and I just never stopped.
Nice.
So how many years have you been collecting now nonstop?
Well, nonstop, I took a few breaks here and there, but altogether I've been collecting for 35 years.
Nice.
Yeah. So you must have a nice collection going there.
Well, I got 35 short boxes, but if I kept every book that was either damaged or I traded or I gave away to some friends or kids, I'd probably have double.
Yeah.
Right. Well, it's amazing. I mean, that's part of what's great about the hobby is you don't always keep everything. Part of it is the joy of passing it on to someone. You could do that a lot easier now that comics are much more mainstream than what they used to be. Because we were talking backstage, and once the big COVID bubble hit, and we all started channels because we needed something to do, and we had no one to talk to because you're all stuck at home. And I think, like most guys, we're not phone people. I'm not going to call up my best friend and we're not going to have conversations. We're not like that. Right. We'll send each other stupid shit. But the thing is you find this community and you get to actually talk comics and things that you enjoy with other people. Now, you were saying you didn't have a lot of that in your life. Is there no one else that you know personally around you that collects, or?
Well, yeah, I know a couple. There's a buddy of mine named Greg. He's probably watching this. He does all my cleaning and pressing, and he's been doing collecting longer than I have. And he was the one that got me here recently, looking more into the Bronze Age stuff, because most of the stuff I looked at was copper, 80s, 90s stuff like that. I did do some silver, but mostly Spider-Man. But I just really, thanks to him, I've really turned my attention to a lot of the Bronze Age stuff, like Tomb of Dracula, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Now, we had a question from the audience. Jerry wanted to know if you collect Golden Age as well.
Yeah. If I could find them, yes, I would. If I could find them and I could afford them.
Now, do you have a couple comic shops around you, or is it quite a hike for you to get to one?
Well, where I live at is conveniently 30 miles away from everywhere. Oh. And any direction you go is 30 miles. There's one place in Blytheville. There's a couple places in Jonesboro. They mostly deal with new stuff. There's one in Jonesboro where I can get good back issues. But my favorite place to go to is the Batcave in Conway. I always find something there.
Nice.
Now, are you a bin digger? When you go in there, are you in and out, or are you in there for a good amount of time looking for gems?
Well, I'm never really. I don't go into the store looking for trying to find a gem, but I will. Man, if I, especially a new store, if I see a bunch of comic boxes, I could sit there for 2, 3, 5 hours. It drives my wife nuts sometimes. Sometimes they just want to drop me off and leave me there for the day.
Right.
See, I could do that too. I'm also a sucker for a used bookstore. I could stay all day in a used bookstore.
Yeah.
I'm still trying to find a paperback of Friday the 13th Part 6, Jason Lives.
Oh, nice. See, I'm always looking for the old Robert E. Howard's. I'm sorry, go ahead. Friday the 13th Part 6.
Yeah. I had it when I was a kid. Right? I'm sorry. I had it when I was a kid. I bought it at the local drugstore, read it backwards and forward, and now the cheapest copy I found is like $300.
Wow!
Really?
Horror adaptation.
Yeah.
Huh?
I know we have a used bookstore here that has a ton of stuff, and now I have to go look. Now I'm going to have to go look. I mean, it's big. They have a massive. They basically took over. They took over an old Walmart that moved as their warehouse. That's how massive their collection is. Now they have a store that I've never been into the warehouse, but the store I've been to a bunch of times. So who knows? Maybe they have it. I'm dying to know now. I'm have to check it out. Friday the 13th, Part 6, huh?
Yeah, it was written by Simon Hawke.
You got Seth 11 asking if that's the one where he gets married.
Sure.
Seth is he's a regular in the chat, so the great thing about our chat is you'll get a lot of funny ball busting, and they're great guys. A lot of times they're just busting on each other, and as you're doing the interview, you're trying not to crack up when you see the tomfoolery and shenanigans that are happening in there.
Correct.
But it was a funny question. I had to put it up there for you.
Hey.
And Jason was the one that got carried over the threshold, not the other way around. So now,
I
go
was
ahead.
going to say, speaking of the guy I was talking about earlier, Greg's in the chat right now. The guy that cleans and presses my books.
Well, hello, Greg.
It's nice to have a local cleaner and presser. I have one here in Rochester, and it's really cuts down on the wait time. When you see how long people have to wait when they get them done by the grading companies, it's ridiculous.
Yeah,
and he has done an amazing job on every book he's done. This where is it? Transformers. When I sent it off, I expected it to be a 3, and it came back a 7. So I mean,
nice,
nice.
And that's CBCS, right?
Yeah, and I've had that book since the '90s. I read that thing I don't know how many times. So I don't. I'm just surprised when it came back a 7. I really was.
Yeah.
Now, go ahead, Jim.
I think CBCS is more stringent than CGC on their grading anyway. So
I've never submitted to CGC, but I have heard that.
Yeah.
I've submitted to both. I don't know who I think is more. I've had books come back from both I thought were higher grades that got lower grades, and ones I thought were higher grades that were lower grades got higher grades. Which all it taught me is I don't really know how to grade, so I just shut up and get my books.
Greg's been trying to teach me how to grade.
Yeah.
But it's So when did you get into graded books? What was your first book you got graded, and what dropped you into that foray and started the process for you?
Well, honestly, I never really considered buying any slab books at all, and I won my first. Well, technically, I had won my first slab from Bueller and Bullseye Bob on their Coffee and Comics show, and you can't see it, but it's a hollow full reprint of Batman Adventures 12. And it's I don't remember a 9.6, but I won that in one of their giveaways, and I just liked the way it looked. And then the first one I actually bought was my Amazing Spider-Man 248, which is the kid that collects Spider-Man.
Wow!
But the cheapest one I bought, if I can find it, is this one. I got this one for $10.
Wow!
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, that is nuts. Well, there are some cheap ones out there. We got Greg chiming in down here saying CBCS grades are very harsh, but don't you want that? I think so too. Especially, I think some integrity issues come into play sometimes when they come back too easy. And if you guys want to see some things about the integrity of CGC, Jerry the Jitterbug put out a series of videos where he had to resubmit some books, and it was a bit fishy. I would definitely recommend any of you CGC guys to go over and check out Jerry's channel and his What the Fuck CGC series. It's he's had quite a journey with some of them.
Yeah.
Now, good evening, Roscoe. Good evening, Dr. Von Hoot, Slim's Collections. We've got a bunch of people popping in.
Right on.
Now, you mentioned something that I love asking my guests about earlier, and that was cartoons and TV. Because I think I love to know what you grew up watching and what your favorites were.
Well, I grew up watching just about everything from the 80s. I grew up watching whether it was Transformers, G.I. Joe, Masters of the Universe. I watched Voltron, Thundercats, Turbo Teen. I don't know if anybody remembers that, or Kid Video.
Don't remember those.
I think those two are past my time.
Yeah, I don't remember those.
Turbo Teen, I think, was on ABC, and Kid Video was on NBC. Because Kid Video was the one where this like rock group or this group ended up in another world, and this bad guy was trying to steal their music or something. He had a group of henchmen called the copycats or something. It was weird, but it was still pretty cool. And Turbo Teen was about a guy that, through some scientific experiment, he had some kind of accident. He crashed into this building during this experiment, and he melted with his car. So I may get this wrong, but when he turned hot, he turned into his car, and when he turned cold, he turned back human. And it didn't last long.
No, it couldn't have.
Did you you remind me of that one show that used to be on? It was only on for a season. Like a bunch of those shows that started out, like Manimal was on for a season. But do you remember Automan?
Yeah, Automan, Manimal.
That sounds familiar.
That had
Go ahead.
Who was the? It was like it had the actor was like he wasn't. His family was famous though, wasn't it? I mean, the guy that played it.
It had good people. It's just those shows only lasted a season. Like they just didn't catch on.
Oh,
But as a kid, like every single one of those damn ones caught my attention. I was completely enthralled with them. If I went back and watched them now, they'd probably be hot garbage.
Yeah.
But every time they got canceled, I remember it broke my little kid heart because I was like, "Yeah, Auto Man, he turns into a car and he's neon."
Oh man, I'm trying to remember who it was.
In Animal, they had the little transformation every time he turned into something else. It was kind of cool.
Oh man!
But my favorite was Transformers. But hell, I watched GoBots too.
Right, yeah. GoBots I used to watch as well.
Yeah.
Now, if you had a guilty pleasure one that you don't like to tell people you enjoy, what would that be?
We talking about cartoons or just anything in general?
In general, cartoon and live action. We're gonna hit you with both. We're gonna make you spill it out.
Well, they could be guilty pleasures, but I don't really feel guilty about it. As far as live action goes, it's always going to be the Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Oh, there ain't nothing wrong with that. Everybody loves that. I probably saw it like 15 times when I was young.
And it can't come on without you singing to it.
Yeah.
Exactly. I sing every song. And I watch it probably 4 or 5 times a year.
I mean,
now, as far as animated goes, I'm going to go with Hellsing.
Hellsing?
Hellsing. Yeah, either the abridged or the regular. It doesn't matter. I love watching that all the time.
I don't think I've ever seen that.
Right. I'm going to write that down and check it out.
Yeah.
It's pretty awesome.
Just spelled Helsing like Van Helsing?
Yes. Yeah, that's basically what it is. It's an organization in London that kills monsters, and their head monster killer is a guy named, well, they call him Alucard, but later on, spoiler alert, you find out he's Dracula.
The whole thing is ruined for me now.
I know. I'm sorry.
I'm just messing.
It's insanely brutal, very graphic, but it's very awesome. It's not nothing you want to watch with the kids.
Right. My kid loves that stuff. I actually, like one of the fun things I've got to do as a dad, I'm a big King Kong fan, right? And I love King Kong movies. But here in Rochester, we have the Kodak Theater, which is his private theater in his house. But now his whole house is a museum. And but you can go and watch movies there. And they had Fay Ray's daughter speaking, and they had an original 1933 reel of Kong. So one that played back then, they played live.
Wow.
So I got to take my kid to it. And we got to watch the original King Kong on an original 1933 reel with Fay Ray's daughter speaking before and after the movie. But and you know the fandom events they have is I got to take my kid to see John Carpenter's The Thing, and we got to watch that in the theater together. And I saw that for the first time in the theater with my kid, because when that came out, I was only 12, and I don't even think I knew it existed.
Yeah. That's what it was, Gary. Desi Arnaz Jr. was in Automan. That was Lucille Ball's.
Oh.
Yeah.
Thank you, Timothy.
Yeah, I knew it was somebody. I'm like, I got to figure out who that was, but it was somebody like I thought it was a musician, but it was sort of.
You got Dr. Von Hoots saying Rock Lords. I never heard of that one, Dr. Von Hoots. Jeremy Gross saying Hellsing Ultimate is the better version.
That's my brother.
That's your brother, isn't it?
Yeah.
I got one of those too. He's always got an opinion opposite of mine.
Isn't that what they're for?
Actually, we get along pretty good. We both got pretty crazy opinions.
Yeah.
Now, you said Captain America really got you into it, but your first one was Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends, which was one of my favorite cartoons. And, and that first comic, that Spider-Man His Amazing Friends, that's actually Firestar's first appearance.
Right.
And the first in continuity was in the X-Men. Where was I going with this? We're talking about the cartoons. Oh, in Captain America, but is he still your favorite hero, or who is your favorite hero to collect now and your favorite horror?
Well, now, ironically, Captain America still is my favorite, but I'm currently not reading the new series. I need to pick it up. My favorite X-Men is Gambit. has always been Gambit.
No.
Oh, because of the cartoon?
Well, actually, now it started with 266.
Sure.
Oh, okay.
And when I was a kid, I took French class. For some reason, I had some kind of I don't know what you call it, an interest in French culture, and so that character I just attached to that character pretty easily.
There you go.
Oh, I gotta check that out. Well,
Yeah.
it's easy to connect to. So I'm a werewolf guy. You're a vampire guy. Favorite vampire movie?
Oh man, um, well, classics aside, because you're gonna automatically love the classics. They should be at the top of the list.
Right.
So after that, I'm going with Fright Night.
Fright Night is fantastic.
That is one of
I
my
remember
favorite.
watching that as a kid and just loving it, and then I had to watch it again, and then I had to watch it again. And I'm a big Evil Dead person too. I love the Evil Dead. John Carpenter's Thing is my favorite. Plus, I love the black and white one, even though it's a dumb monster. And but John Carpenter's was much more true to the source material.
Yeah.
Of Campbell's book, Who Goes There, Frozen Hell. And but
yeah, I'm with John. Lost Boys is I like Lost Boys is up there.
I mean, that's like romanticized vampires, kind of. It's fun. It's fun.
You know.
I was going to say that if Fright Night didn't exist, my favorite would probably be a tie between Lost Boys and Near Dark.
Ooh, now Near Dark.
Near Dark is really good. I remember watching that and loving it too. Some early Bill Paxton there.
Yeah.
Yep.
And for me, with being werewolves, The Howling is my favorite werewolf movie. I do have a soft spot. Yeah, the effects in that were incredible. But I do have a soft spot for American Werewolf in London. But that mainly has to do with Jenny Agutter. So
yeah, I'm sure.
I always liked the transformation in American Werewolf more, but I love the story in Howling.
Yeah,
the Howling story is great, and you can't beat the ending of that either. That ending is fantastic in The Howling.
Yeah,
man, you guys are making me want to go watch some of these now. This is terrible.
Well, and the ending makes you hungry with the burger cooking on the grill.
Well, I got a question for y'all. We was talking about guilty pleasures. Here's another one. Have y'all ever heard of a movie called Spellbinder?
Yes, I don't remember if I've seen it though.
It has the guy from Wings and Kelly Preston, and I believe his name is Rick Rossovich from Top Gun.
Wow. All right. Spellbinder?
Yeah, it came out in '88.
Okay.
It's about a guy it's a typical story about a guy meeting this girl that's in an abusive relationship, and they fall in love, and you find out that she's being chased by a satanic cult.
Oh, I'm gonna watch that. I'm gonna look at because I love those old movies. Like I used to love the Warlock movies.
So, I love the Warlock.
I love the Warlock movies.
Yeah, that one was great.
I love the Warlocks.
Yeah.
I watch.
Do we even know if he's still
is
he still around? I mean, did they ever find him?
I don't know. I just found out here recently who was missing.
Yeah,
I didn't know he was missing.
Oh yeah, Gary. He's been missing for a while now. He went hiking. Evidently he's like a expert hiker or whatever, or mountaineer person, and he was up in the mountains when all the mudslides and all that stuff was going on, and I never heard whether they found him or not. So
that would be really sad. He was great back in the day.
Oh man, he was. Yeah, I love that.
I hope they do find him.
Yeah, he's okay.
Now, do you like your horror just pure horror? You obviously have a penchant for the slasher flicks, with Jason. I was never a slasher flick guy because there was never enough story for me. Yeah, the kills are fun, but without a really tight story, I was like, I just got bored.
Yeah.
And that's not to say all slasher flicks don't have stories. Because I was never a big Freddy guy either, and I know that's sacrilege to a lot of people. But I have a really big soft spot for sci-fi and horror mixed, like Alien, like one of the most underrated horror movies, space horror movies ever, in my opinion, is Event Horizon, which is just fantastic.
Oh yeah, sure.
And I'm going to be honest, I've never seen Event Horizon.
You haven't? Oh, Tony,
No.
you would love it, man. It is so good.
So
and
now,
it's a great cast too.
So now, what do you call the Cube? I mean, that's not horror though, right? Have you ever seen the Cube?
I think when it first came out on Sci-Fi.
I don't think it's horror though, right? That's just more. I don't know what you put that under.
John says they haven't found him.
No.
Oh, that's sad. I'm bummed out now.
Yeah.
I'm worried that the longer it takes, then the outcome may not be what we want.
Yeah, because it was. I mean, there was a lot of things going on over there. I think it was a lot of rain and mudslides and everything, and he was in that area. So
just picked the wrong time to go, huh?
Could be. Yeah. So.
Ooh, psychological thriller is what Dr. Von Hoots is giving.
Yeah, I guess that's what you'd put it as. I mean, I love the Cube. I don't know what it is about it. I just, and it's ugly, but I love it. It's like that's one of my guilty pleasures. It's one nobody ever knows about, but I'm like, come on, the Cube, man, come on, remember the Cube.
Now I got to ask you, what you're being a vampire fan, what's your most hated vampire movie? Because there's always one in the genre they get wrong for us, and we love, and we're like, why? Why'd you make that?
Twilight.
Yeah, it's Sparkle Boy. Come on, everybody knows that. Crying out loud, that was just atrocious.
Right.
My wife's going to kill me for saying that, because she loves them. She read the books and everything, and she loves them.
Yeah, well,
nice. Hey, I mean that's the beauty of all entertainment, is it's subjective to the person that's taking it in, you know?
Exactly.
Now, what was the one they did? The Dracula one that I saw on Netflix was it was more
Midnight Mass?
No, it was a different storyline where he was.
Oh, wait, that was a TV series, Dracula, right?
No. It's just like Dracula: The Untold Story or something like that, and it has.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God!
What is how he became Dracula?
Yeah, how he became Dracula. You know, he wanted to save his village and all that stuff.
That was supposed to be part of that monster verse that they were supposed to create. That flattened out on him.
Wasn't that guy that played him in one of the Fast and Furious movies?
He might have been. I can't think of. I'm terrible with actors' names and whatnot. And but this particular thing, he was like. You know, he was sold away as a boy, or not get sold away, but given to, the enemy to
Luke Evans.
The child. Yeah.
So. I watched that once when I bought the DVD, and I thought it was pretty cool.
Yeah. I just like the effects in it, and I thought the effects were excellent. So, but
what about Dracula Dead and Loving It from Mel Brooks?
Oh, come on. You got to mention that.
Dead and Loving It. So
exactly, Timothy, you're the only other person besides me that said that. It is very much like Event Horizon is like a Clive Barker space horror movie.
Yeah, no, I've seen it. It's good. It's good. Lawrence Fishburne, come on.
It's better than good. It's fantastic. I mean, wow! I can't believe Tony's never seen it. But we all have those classics we haven't seen.
Can I give Tim a quick shout out real quick?
You sure can.
Timothy Williams is a friend of mine. I've known him since I was 13, just like Greg. He owns one of the only very few running video stores left in Arkansas.
Well, there you go. See, now we know why he's so knowledgeable.
Yeah, what I don't know, he fills me in on.
There you go.
Well, in experience that most of our kids will never know, right? Like my kid never knew, like the going to Blockbuster and walking around for 35 minutes and still not having a video in your hand. And
you
had to show your driver's license to rent a Nintendo 64.
Right. Dude, I remember when VHS first came out, and I remember thinking, man, I got to get one of these. And we went to where did I get it? I don't remember where I got it, but it was like I want to say 400 and some bucks. And my father thought I was crazy. He's like, why are you why are you spending all this money on this? And he's like, I'm like, dude, this is going to be, this is going to be the way it goes. That man spent so much money on videos. As soon as I bought it, because I was still living at home, I was only like 19 or something. I didn't have any bills. He spent so much money on it. But yeah, I'll never forget how much money I spent on just that. And it was nothing special. Remember, they weren't much in the beginning.
Right.
So
we all I got to share this with you, a little bit of honesty. I don't remember what year it was. It was in the 90s. I actually paid for a copy of a videotape at the video store because I love the movie so much that I actually paid $70 for the video copy. But get this, it was Showgirls.
oh my gosh, there you go.
It was the NC-17 version.
Okay.
Now, was it because of Gina Gershon, or was it for the main actress?
It was Jesse Spano all the way.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Yeah. Gina
Now, of course,
Gershon,
after I watched it, I never could watch Saved by the Bell again.
Boobs are worth it. John.
I think during my generation, the big movie for that was Embrace of the Vampire with Alyssa Milano.
Oh my God, I love that movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love that movie.
Why not? Yeah, for sure. So, out of I know you were talking about Captain America and Spider-Man. Is there any other superheroes that you like to collect? I know some people have like, okay, I start here with, are you, let me ask you this. Do you even cross over to DC?
Yeah, I do read some DC. Well, mostly it's Batman. But I have read Superman, Justice League. Ironically, my favorite DC superhero is Firestorm. But I only have two Firestorm comics, which is kind of odd.
A great design character too.
Yeah, he really is.
Yeah. I fell in love with the character when he was on one of the versions of the Super Friends.
Yeah.
So I mean, but I had friends that collected Firestorm, so I'd read their books. But I've been meaning to start working on getting some Firestorm books.
And those are cheap right now too.
Yeah, you can get those. You can get those for a reasonable price. You probably pick up the whole run for almost nothing.
Yeah, I think the most expensive one is that one annual that has the first appearance of the Blue Devil.
Yeah.
Probably I'd love to get his first appearance. That'd be awesome.
I don't think it's too pricey, actually.
I don't think so either.
But get it now before James Gunn puts him in a movie.
Yeah, exactly. No lie.
Any character can show up now, which is the exciting part of what's going on.
Right, exactly. I'm always curious about, because some people are strictly, I'm only Marvel, I don't really look at DC. And then there are other ones that are, I'm only DC. So I'm just curious if you, read a little bit.
Oddly enough, when I first started collecting, it was mainly Marvel with a little bit of DC. But now that I've been back in and reading, honestly, I read like maybe 2 or 3 titles from Marvel, 2 or 3 titles from DC, and the rest is independents. And that's something I didn't even do when I first started.
I was going to get to the independents on you because there's a lot of great vampire stuff over there.
Yeah.
Cult of Icarus, which was really good. Cult of Dracula, which has had 2 series. The second one I thought was way better than the first. I thought the first one started out slow, and then I really enjoyed it by the end. And I thought the second 6-issue arc was fantastic, and I know they're coming out with another arc too. But also Steak. But there's but tons of great Little Monsters is probably something you're reading, I'm sure. But there's a lot of
actually no.
So what indies are you reading?
Well, currently, in a lot of my videos, I've mentioned this before, but the top 5 are, of course, Something Is Killing the Children and the 4 Spawn titles. Because I always say in my videos on New Comic Book Day that if I ever get a Something That's Killing the Children or a Spawn, I'm a happy guy.
There you go.
Some of the ones I've read lately, I've been reading Nightclub. I discovered Nemesis Reloaded. I never even heard of Nemesis. I went back and got the trade. And then there was like Eve and the Last Witch and Scout's Honor, stuff like that. Canto,
Right.
I love Canto.
See,
I think
I've
it was
never read
Bullseye
Canto.
Bob that got me. I think it was Bullseye Bob. I kept watching, Comics with Bueller, and he kept talking about Canto, so I finally checked it out, and I just fell in love with it.
Nice.
And John's Comics for Kids brings up a really good series too, Philadelphia.
Yeah, Philadelphia.
Which has good writing and really killer art, and that's probably, I think, the longest running vampire series right now.
Might be.
I have to check that out.
You can get it in trades right now.
I've been working on trying to get all the Spawn compendiums, but what was it, a few weeks ago when they did the Invincible facsimile?
Mm-hmm.
Right?
I had never read a single issue of Invincible until I read that one, and now I want to go get all the compendiums.
and those are a slippery slope too, right?
Yeah, you got to be careful, man. Those would
and that's
put
the
a hit
thing
in your
about our
pocket.
hobby, man. There's always another rabbit hole. There's no shortage of rabbit holes to go down in comics.
No doubt.
No
doubt.
I was telling people, I said, how could I be collecting for 35 years and never hear of a series that ran for 144 issues?
Right. Well, I'm sure there's a lot of them too. Like some things you don't realize they've been around as long as they are.
Yeah.
You'll see like some character, you're like, really? That went for almost 200 issues? I never even heard of them.
But you know what? That's good. That gives you an opportunity to go and find something else new to read. Now, with that said, when I'm going to ask the question that I ask a lot of people: are the draw for comics with you? Is it more of the story or the art? And let me preface that by telling you what I'm really asking. For me, I'll say it this way: there was a book that came out last year that had an amazing cover, and we all know that the cover is the hook. It gets you in, and you're like, holy crap, this is going to be, I can't wait to, check this book out. And you open it up, and the interior art was just deplorable. I mean, it was just really bad.
You're talking about Batgirls?
And I am talking about Batgirls.
Oh,
and I was like,
I was so excited.
I was very excited to read it. And I thought, can I get this book and read this story with this art? And I just couldn't bring myself to spend the money because the story's great and the art's it makes it hard to read if the art's not there. And that's kind of where I'm going with that. Some people are all about, I don't care, the art can be crap, the story is what does it for me. And I'm more, it has to have the art in it. Which way do you go?
Well, now when I first started collecting, I would have went story, but as the years have progressed, I think it has to be a healthy mix of both. Like you said, the cover art's going to be what grabs you, and like I said, that Captain America 333, it was that cover that grabbed me, and it was the story that kept me. And I like a good story, and I also like, but I've really, since my daughter is an artist, has really grown to appreciate the art aspect more.
Yeah.
And I mean, not every story has to have a life-changing event, just as long as it's just a good, well-written story.
Right.
Sure.
There's nothing wrong with it just being fun either.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's I guess for me, and that's why I asked that question, because some people are like, oh, it has to have a good story. I don't care about the art. And I'm like, see, I don't see how that can, the art, that's part of what a comic book is the art of it. If you want a good story, then just pick up a regular book with no art at all. Because then that's just what's called a novel or a biography or something. That's a great story. But a comic book has to have good art, or it's, an art is subjective. I know that, but.
Now, we specially built the sandbox just for Jim to stand on every episode because he loved it.
I find it interesting because
it is.
Some people could care less, and I'm taking a poll. I've got
here. I'm Tony, more about the story, check. But I also put Batgirl down because the art was so bad. I knew I couldn't get through the story with how horrible the art was.
Right, and I mean it's nothing personal. It's just not my style. I didn't like the art in it. And I tried. I bought Legion of Superheroes book, and I wasn't a big fan of the art. And I bought it and I tried to read it and I kept trying and it just got, and I was like, what am I doing? Why am I spending my money on this? The story was so, and the art was not good. So I quit picking it up, and I love Legion of Superheroes. That's one of my favorite DC titles from back in the day. So I'm always curious to know what people think about that.
Now, I will admit that one series that I first heard about the story and then I liked the art too was Chicken Devil.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
after I read that, I was like, after I read the first series, I was like, I don't know why I picked it up, but I love this series.
Yeah.
Well, and that's the thing too about the indies. There's so much good stuff out there right now, there is just something for every type of reader to explore at the moment. Yeah. If you have an interest, there's a story about it that's out there and on the shelves, ready for you to peruse and consume.
Correct.
Yeah.
I want to get back into storylines because you were talking about what a big reader you are and how reading has always been a passion for you. I know for me, I know for Jim, but we always have those stories that we can go back in those storylines that we can reread over and over and over again. What story is that for you in comics?
Oh Lord, I got a list.
Hey, Journey.
Some of my favorite stories that I love reading over and over again is Batman: A Death in the Family.
Oh yeah.
Of course, Kraven's Last Hunt, or more commonly known as Fearful Symmetry. And the Infinity Gauntlet. I love the Infinity Gauntlet. Just taking off the top of my head, of course, the Dark Phoenix saga is it's obvious.
Yeah, that's one of my favorites.
One of my favorite series that, and honestly, I have the series, but I haven't read it in a long, long time, is DC's Millennium. It came out in the 80s.
I remember that. One of my favorites from back then too is not a lot of people know about it for some reason was Camelot 3000.
See, I've heard of that, but I've never read it.
Yeah, I don't think I read that either.
I have the trade of it, and you can get all the issues in the dollar bins, but it's so good, and I will pull that trade out every couple years and just reread the trade again. It was 12 issues. Nice. And it's like King Arthur is resurrected, and all the knights that are round table and everything are resurrected again in the future.
Oh wow!
And it's kind of a spacey setting, and there's some things that happen. Of course, you have Merlin, you have Morgana, you have all of them. It's really cool.
There you go.
But wow, yeah. See, again, I always bring that one up because people just don't know that series for some reason.
I will mention one just off the wall and that is I don't know when they stopped doing them, but for a while they were doing limited series on the R.A. Salvatore Forgotten Realms books.
Oh, yep.
And because I don't know where you pronounce his name, Drizzt or Drist Duerden. He's one of he is my favorite fictional character in novels.
Huh.
You know.
But have you read Conan?
Believe it or not, I have flipped through a few issues of Conan, and I think the only comic that I have with Conan in it is the What If Wolverine Battle Conan or Fought Conan or something.
Yeah,
but I do know who Conan is.
Yeah, I have a couple of those. That's a fun story. And Wolverine marries Red Sonja in that book.
Yeah,
and I had forgotten about that.
Yeah, and Conan loses a hand.
See, I was trying to remember which one lost a hand, if it was Wolverine or Conan.
It was Conan.
Yeah.
But he had a couple what ifs, but the Robert E. Howard stories are fantastic.
See, and the Conan that I read was from the 80s. I didn't get to read any of the Bronze Age stuff, which I would love to go back and visit that.
So I think, like us, I think your favorite age is the Bronze Age.
It's slowly getting there because, like I said, most of the stuff I read was basically 80 to 89 when I started. So, I mean, but I'm slowly getting back to the Bronze Age, and just about everything I've read from the Bronze Age has been pretty good.
Right, and there was a time too when I never thought I'd be a Fantastic Four person, and there was a time where that was just the best book out there, and I could not wait for Fantastic Four to come out.
Yeah,
it was just so good for so long. It was really incredible.
Yeah, I got a facsimile, or what you call Marvel Milestone edition of the FF5. When I read it, I was like, why ain't I reading Fantastic Four?
Do you have a favorite artist in the top 5 artists of Marvel or DC or whatever?
Well, my go-to, my absolute favorite is always Alex Ross. And I love Todd McFarlane. I don't know if I could sit here and name 5, but
no, that's fine. I just
I like Mike Mayhew, and
he's really good.
He is really good.
I've got what's his name? Salvatore LaRocca.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah.
LaRocca. Yep.
Oh,
yeah,
and George
good.
Perez.
And George Perez. There you go. Yeah, that's my.
What was that?
I was just clearing my throat.
Well, and I mean, Ramita Senior. Yeah. I'm a big Ramita Senior. I like Ramita Senior. I'm a huge John Byrne and George Perez fan.
Ramita Senior is my favorite Spider-Man artist.
Yeah.
John Byrne and George Perez. You could give either one of them any hero from anywhere, and they could draw, and you'd love it.
Yeah.
Because they could just draw. Those two could draw anything. Okay. Yeah, well, right. I mean, yeah, just phenomenal. All right, so you're talking about. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say my favorite Spider-Man cover is, of course, I don't remember the issue, but the one where he's buried and he's got the water draining down on him.
Oh, yeah, like from the movie.
The John Romita Jr. cover when he's like pushing it up.
I bought the Marvel Tales copy of that book just so I could have that cover.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good one. I think that's at 44. Is that issue 44?
Wait, was that?
I don't remember.
Was that Romita or Ditko?
No, I think it's Ramita Senior.
Yeah,
I'm not really sure. Greg could tell me if he's still in the chat. But I think it's in the 30s. I think it was right after when Gwen Stacy first appeared.
All right, so if we're talking Spider-Man for a second,
all right,
one of my favorite characters ever is the Black Cat. Absolutely love Felicia Hardy, but as much as I like the Black Cat, there's only one woman for Peter Parker, and that's MJ. It's not Gwen Stacy. It's not Betty Brant. It's not Felicia Hardy. It's MJ. What's your opinion on it?
Oh, it is 33.
Well, when I started collecting, he was about to marry MJ. I mean, matter of fact, that first Spider-Man book I bought, she accepted his proposal. I didn't know who Gwen Stacy was when I first started collecting, and then research I found out. And when I read that story, it's a sad story. But as far as relationships go, I think there's more of a fascination. Peter's fascination with Gwen is just because she's gone. That's just my opinion.
It's guilt.
Mary Jane, I mean, even from the last panel of the death of Gwen Stacy, after that story's over with, when he's breaking down and he's attacking her, and she could have left and she just shut the door and stayed with him. That shows you right there why she's probably the better person for him. But then again, I also like when he runs off with Black Cat and does crazy stuff too. So I mean,
Bobby DeLaGhetto was right. It is Steve Ditko.
Yeah, I had highlight. Thank you, Bobby.
Yeah,
he's our other super knowledgeable guy in the community.
Yeah, I don't know what I was thinking. I thought for sure he's right.
Yeah, it was one of his later ones. And as much as people love Ditko, like I'm a big ROM fan, Tony.
Yeah.
And I have all the ROM issues, all 75, plus the four annuals, plus his guest appearances and Power Man and Iron Fist and the Incredible Hulk. But Bill Mantlo wrote the whole series, another fantastic writer, and unfortunate what happened to him with getting hit by a car and stuff. But that series was so good. But that last 20 or so issues drawn by Steve Ditko, like his he was just phoning it in, and Rom did not look great
man.
for those issues. The stories were still fantastic, but the art was just really hurting me on those.
Oh man.
Now, are you also a signature guy, or you could care less about signatures?
Well, it just depends. I've got, I think, 13 autographed comics right now, but I mean, honestly, it just depends. If I go to I've only went to a couple of Comic Cons and got. Of course, I'm gonna take a few books and get them signed. I got to meet Howard Mackey and Javier Saltares and
Oh,
Tom Lyle
nice.
before. I met Tom before he passed away,
Hmm.
and I loved that was one of the highlights was talking to Howard about Ghost Rider and the
Right.
Spider Clone stuff, and then talking to Tom Lyle about Tim Drake. He loved Tim Drake. And we just sit there and talked a while about him while he was sketching the cover to give away at the event that night.
Oh,
So,
Nice.
wow. It's fun when you're talking to an artist and you're watching them work too. It's kind of it's really neat.
and the funny thing was I mean I seen him sketching it, but I didn't know until after I had left. I seen it on social media that he gave the book away that night. And I was like, man,
I should have stuck
That
around.
could have been me.
yeah,
Yeah. They there's some that can just do that. They can sit there and talk and do it at the same time, and others I've seen where they're like, all right, I got to go away for a while, and they need to focus more. It's all in
I
how
don't think I could
their
do it.
process is. I know I couldn't. I mean, I can't sit there and talk to you, and I guess I could if you don't have to look at them. Like,
Yeah.
if you don't care about, hey, yeah, I'm trying to do this and that. Yeah, I might be all right. But
Now, is there anyone currently that if you go to a con that you're trying to meet?
Well, I'll tell you, like I said, I've only been to 2 cons, and they were both Comic Conway and Conway, Arkansas. So I'm gonna go to Memphis in September. That's gonna be my first real, what you would call big around here.
yeah,
Because I know Kevin Eastman's supposed to be there, and
right on.
then one of the people that did Death, the High Cost of Living, is supposed to be there, and there's a few others can't think of who it is, but it just depends on if I know when they're if who's going to be there. If Howard's there, I'll go straight to his table and talk to him because I love talking to Howard, and I mean it just depends. Of course, I would have loved to have met Stan Lee when he was alive,
Yeah,
Right?
but I mean, or I'd like to meet Todd just to talk to him, just for even 5 minutes.
See, I'd love to meet Roy Thomas and just talk to him for a few minutes. I mean, I grew up on Roy Thomas's stories, and and the dude wrote everything, and then he went to DC and he wrote everything over there, and then he went back to. It's just the dude's body of work is great, just like Stan Lee's, right? I mean,
right.
these guys they helped us grow up as children, man. They just raised us in those stories.
I talked to Shooter, Jim Shooter. I talked to Jim
yeah.
Shooter for I think 15 to 20 minutes because nobody was in line, which blew my mind. And I just went over and started talking to him while I was waiting he was signing some prints. And I thought, I mean, this is a guy that had some great stories.
Did he stand up next to you? Because
oh my God,
that guy's tall.
Yeah, he is massively big man. And but he had great Stan Lee stories. That's what I like talking to him about. He had great Stan Lee stories.
I'd love to meet Larry Hama, and I think his name is Bob Budiansky, the guy that started the whole Transformers thing.
Right. Yeah. I think Larry Hama was at was he at Baltimore? I think he was at Baltimore. Yeah.
Oh, really?
I think he was. We're all going to Charlotte. Heroes Con. That's the one to go to, brother.
Now, if you guys are there, this guy's been making the rounds, and I got a bunch of books signed from him when he was up here for Empire Fest. Is Keith Williams, who did a lot of inking and some art for Marvel.
Mm-hmm.
He did a lot of Web of Spider-Man.
Okay.
Great guy.
It's funny.
Awesome stories. His wife is just as nice as he is. Just incredible. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Tony.
Well, I was going to say, it's funny you mentioned Keith Williams because I don't know if they've told anybody around here, but that one of my LCSs once a month, they do a thing where they have somebody come in. And last week it was, I can't even think of his name now, Jason Keith. And but they mentioned Keith Williams was coming.
Get down there to see him. Really nice guy. And I bought a She-Hulk print from him. The She-Hulk was amazing that he drew. But I got, I think, 4 or 5 Web of Spider-Mans that he inked that I got him to sign, man, which are just great. And he just sits there. He's just so nice. It's like it's those things where, like, when you meet the creators and they're better than you envision them being, and you're just like, wow, this is a really good dude, or good person. And because you hear people that have the opposite stories, and I'm like, man, I'm glad I never met that person, because I wouldn't want to destroy something from my childhood.
So supposedly, you said Howard Mackey?
Yeah,
what you said. Yeah, he's gonna be. He's gonna be at Heroes.
I've met him twice.
I've never met him. I'll check him out.
Yeah, I've met him twice, and he was pretty cool both times. As a matter of fact, when I seen him the second time, he remembered me. And
nice.
Like I said, we sat around and talked about Ghost Rider, and when he did the Gambit Limited series, I think it was the first one.
Yeah, the first
because
one.
One of my favorite, I don't know, you call it scenes or panels, is, I don't remember what issue it is, but when he took that tithe collector and charged his clothes and kicked him out the window. I always love that. Because nice. Back then everybody had the mentality, or most people had the mentality that, if Gambit didn't have nothing to throw, he was useless. But,
right.
No, he's got all those powers. It's just everyone just wants to see the cards because they
right.
Oh yeah. Wasn't he using toothpicks in his first appearance or something like that, or a spike? I don't remember.
Are you talking 266 or X-Men Annual 14?
Yeah. I'm talking 266. I think he charged a plate. I know. I believe so.
Let's go
Probably.
Back.
I mean, he can charge anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So my other question is, what is your favorite book in your PC? Do you have one that's your top book? It doesn't matter if it's a valuable book or a 50-cent book. Just what's the book that you love the most in your collection that you can't believe you have?
Oh, that's easy. Marvel Super Special #1, 1977. Kiss.
Ooh. Oh, yep.
Yeah, Kiss.
The magazine.
Mm-hmm.
I got that book last year, and I never thought I'd ever own it because I've been a Kiss fan since I was 5 years old, and it's been a dream book for me. It's one of my 3 grails, and actually, even after I bought it, and of course I ordered it online. I didn't find it in the wild, but just wait for it to come in, and me holding it in my hands, and I still just could not believe that I actually had that book.
My LCS Rhinos had it last year, and it was just too expensive. It was slabbed. It was like a 8.5, I think it was.
Mine probably would have came back at a 5.0 until I messed up and accidentally put some tape on it, and it took a little spot off the cover. But I'm going to that book is cleaned and pressed and ready for submission. As soon as I can save the money up to send it off, I'm going to probably get it submitted to protect it from me.
And the cool thing now, Tony, is CBCS, I believe, has now started doing magazine slabs. So
they
you can get that good thick case from them.
No lie.
I didn't know how to submit the book, whether it's submitted as a magazine or a comic. So I actually sent an email to both CBCS and CGC on the same day, right about the same time. And CBCS was the only ones to respond.
Wow.
So
you see, I take the guesswork out of mine. I submit through my LCS.
Yeah.
So I pay them. They send it out. It comes back. They're responsible for it. I just have to pay them, and I forget about it.
Well, my first submission was through my LCS because I wanted to do the whole, support your local comic shop. But my second submission was more of I want to see if I can do this myself.
Right.
And so, and I learned that I need to learn to pay for the express.
Yeah.
It can be a lengthy wait. I hear the waits are getting a little bit better, but man, I waited a year for my last submission.
Both of my submissions took a year, and I'm just constantly looking.
Right. Oh, yeah, and I had some stuff I really wanted back that was like AOKs from people I got that were just fantastic. One of them was a Mahmoud Asrar book that he signed to me personally. You know, that came all the way from Vienna to me, which was awesome. Via my buddy Thorson, Varangian Vigilante, who got that, which was nice. But all right, so now that you're on YouTube, how's your journey been on YouTube, and what do you think of what you've experienced so far being in this community now?
Well, I've I've enjoyed the hell out of it. When I first started, I really didn't know how to get my name out there, and then I discovered, you and Digger and uh, Chris the comic vet, and I just started, reaching out, and then I think it was when Chris was doing his, 1,000 subscriber push where I really started trying to expand because I'm more of a private person. I'm always
Right.
preferred. I always preferred solitude. So me trying to get out of my bubble and do something different uh, and expand. I mean, to be honest, the YouTube channel whether I had 1 subscriber or a million subscribers, I I just want if anything, if I could help somebody that is just starting, you know, if I could try to give them the knowledge that I didn't have when I first started,
Mm,
then or if I could just get people to read,
Right.
right.
Well, I
Yeah.
did
to
do
me,
that too. Like I don't hate spec, but I think spec gets in the way of good stories sometimes. Like one of my shorts I posted on Instagram was because everyone's trying to get that Supergirl one. I'm like,
yeah.
dude, just read the series. The series is fantastic. You'll do yourself a favor by reading it. Like that was just, you know, I mean,
What?
and spec is fine. I don't have anything against selling stuff. It's part of the hobby.
Yeah.
Um, but if you have it in your possession, read it and then
Right.
sell.
Oh yeah.
And then so,
Well, I can say that I've read just about every single book I own, and some of them probably more than once.
Oh,
mm,
there's books because I have a good pull list, but I still find myself going back and reading my Bronze Age books more than my modern books all the time.
right.
And I've
Yeah.
read like three modern miniseries in the last couple days, which I loved and I thought were really good. But it's just because of when I grew up. There's something special to me about those Bronze Age books. I just can't get enough of them.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And one of my favorite Bronze Age books, believe it or not, is ASM 134. But
What's special about that one? I
for
don't know off
me,
the top of my head.
Yeah.
it's the first appearance of the tarantula and the second appearance of the
Oh,
Punisher.
Right on.
I don't know why, but when I first started collecting, I got a Marvel Tales that was a reprint of that, and I just immediately attached to the tarantula character. I just fell in love with that villain.
I think he's a cool character too. I just bought a couple ASMs that had him in it, and then but he had such a weird death.
Oh yeah, I hated that.
Well, who knows? You never know. They could bring him back
Yeah,
somehow.
they bring
He's just
everybody
cool.
back. It's not a
Well,
problem.
He's like the only
well,
one they haven't brought back. Him and Uncle Ben.
I was gonna
No.
say during the whole I don't remember the storyline, but during the Nick Spencer run where they were doing all that stuff with Mephisto, and I think it
Right.
was Sinister War. Wasn't there a tarantula in Sinister War?
Man, I
I
don't
thought
I did
know.
not read that.
I now whether or not it was the original, I don't know, but I could have sworn that tarantula was in there.
Hmm.
Yeah, but he's a fun character. I agree.
I always thought he was underrated, or not underrated, but underused.
Underused.
I
Yeah.
think that of
Well,
Cardiac too. That Spider-Man guy, Cardiac.
right.
I
There's
think
a
he's
lot
really
of them.
underused.
Yeah, there's a lot of
They
them
could
that
have did so much with Cardiac.
Oh yeah. All right. So, do you also watch all the movies and TV shows and everything that's out? Are you a big consumer of that product as well?
I try to. Well, here recently, since I've been wrapped up in making videos and stuff, my watching has kind of diminished a little bit, but I try to watch one every weekend. I'm a little bit behind on the MCU stuff. I've been trying
Right.
to. I've been telling myself I'm gonna go watch Titans on HBO Max, but
Well,
I think I've watched 3 or 4 episodes.
I'd stick with the first season, the second season, this last season. Oh,
I haven't started
it's
season
been
4
rough.
yet. I've watched the first 3.
Yeah, and the season 4 has just been rough for me. The first, actually the last, probably the last season was, to me, I enjoyed the most out of all of them.
I haven't seen Wakanda Forever, but I'm planning on watching it this weekend.
Now, being the avid reader that you are, is there a character that it could be a low character, a C-list character, D-list character, or a no-list character that nobody knows about but you? Who would you like to see brought up in a TV show or a movie that we haven't seen yet?
Firestorm.
Firestorm. I was actually going to say Firestorm.
Yeah, Firestorm. Yeah, that's what I mean. Firestorm. Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say. I mean, Firestorm was in
He was in the Flash.
Oh, he was in the Flash. Yeah.
He was in Legends of the DC Legends of Tomorrow. He was in there for a while too.
But you want to see him on the big screen.
Yes.
Well, give it time. He'll be there.
Right.
Bobby says Super Pro. Bobby don't look at us as Super Pro.
NFL Super Pro. I had the whole run back then.
Now he's with Bearded. Now he's in Bearded's corner there.
I would make fun of him, but I had the first 4 issues, plus I had the special.
You know, I never read Super Pro, and Bearded Comic Bro almost lost his mind. And he's like, "What do you mean? How you not read Super Pro?" And then I was at the one of the other LCSs, and it was in one of the back bins. I said, "I'm $4. I'm picking this up. I'm going to see what all the hubbub is." It was fine.
Believe it or not, I don't remember which issue it is, but one of the issues was recalled by Marvel.
Really?
Yeah, I think it had to do something with it was racism. I think it was some kind of racism or something. But I don't remember the issue number.
Now I kind of want to know.
Right.
Don't hold me to this. It might be issue 6, but
I'll Google it after. Bobby might know. Bobby's here.
Yeah, Bobby, you know.
But back to the original question, if I couldn't have Firestorm, I'm going with Tarantula. I just would love to see him on the scene just once.
Right.
Go ahead. Even if it's just even if it's just a quick 20 minutes and that's it.
Yeah, a little side character thing there.
I want to see White Tiger too. But I want to see the guy, then the girl. I want to see the whole process, the whole tradition of the tiger.
You know, they could do that on TV though. You know, they could do White Tiger on TV. So
final season of Doom Patrol and of Titans. Because I think now they're going to go with their new stuff that they're doing. I think the only thing they're keeping right now for shows is Peacekeeper.
Well, and he'll, you know what, for sure. Yeah, for sure they'll keep. I mean, Peacekeeper made him a ton of money.
Right. So. All right. So now, though, we've hit that hour and 10 mark. So we're going to wrap it up with some final questions. Jim, if you have one, I'll let you go first.
So let's throw the question that Rob likes to throw out to him, and as a wrap up. Tell me if I do this wrong, Gary. But
okay.
So we're going to throw this out to you because you're reading books right now as well as old stuff. Let's say Marvel comes to you and says, "Tony, help us out. You know, we have pick the book that you think needs to be redone."
Right, a character that's flailing now, and you got a pitch to save the character, put him on the right path.
Yeah.
What character are you going to choose, and what do you think needs to be done to course correct them?
Yeah.
Honestly, hopefully nobody hates me when I say this, but Spider-Man.
There you go. You know what? This is.
I think that's a popular opinion for the last 3-4 years since Nick Spencer got on him. I think that's a popular opinion, and even now he's been kind of.
Dark Web really killed it for me, but I'm still collecting it anyway because I've always collected Amazing Spider-Man. My second choice would be Captain America.
I've heard that Sentinel of Liberty is really good, though.
Yeah, but they're putting too many Cap books out. Like, they're starting to give Cap the Spider-Man and Batman treatment, where he's in like too many books, and it makes it hard to collect them.
And honestly, to be honest, that's one of the reasons why I hadn't read the new Cap stuff, because you got two Caps running around at the same time, and I was like, well, and I have to stay within my budget. So I mean,
yeah, we know that. I know how.
Now, being a Cap fan, did you watch the Bucky Barnes and Falcon series?
Yes, I did.
Yeah, I thought that was. What did you think when U.S. Agent came on and just the blood on the shield and?
Oh, I love that. I mean, now, well,
like, I couldn't believe they did it because it was Disney, right? And then you see the blood on the shield, like, yes, they went there.
Well, when I heard that John Walker was going to be in the show, and I went, oh Lord, are we going to get the John Walker from the comics during the the 18-issue Cap run when he was Cap? I said, because he lost his mind. But and there's always little changes and stuff, because I know that he had the Power Broker formula in the comics, but it didn't drive him nuts. It was just the death of his parents that drove him nuts in the comics. But I mean, but actually, to be fair, he was showing signs before then. That just kind of tipped it over.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I know a lot of people loved and hated that series. I was one of the ones that loved it. One, I think Mackie and Stan, those guys, their chemistry together is amazing. Like, what a great duo they are. When they're on screen together, pure magic.
Sebastian Stan and
Anthony Mackie.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, I watched it for Baron Zemo.
Right?
I love Baron Zemo. Too.
The only thing I didn't care for, I don't like that they're making Sharon Carter the bad guy.
No, I didn't like that either. I've always liked
that was my only complaint. She's a hero.
Right.
Yeah.
But we'll see. Her arc's not over. But I do like that they just didn't get rid of the character, that they're doing more with her. All right, so my final question for you is there something that you feel you missed out on while you've been collecting that you would like to revisit, or a storyline that you feel you didn't get to read? We have those holes that we didn't get to read.
Well,
do you have any reading regrets?
Nah, I mean, as far as books to read, well, I wish I could have been around when Amazing Spider-Man started, but but actually, I guess if I had one regret, it would be back when I was in high school. I traded off a bunch of New Mutants comics for some Spider-Man books I needed, and one of the books was the first appearance of Cable.
Oh, yeah.
I had those, plus I had all the McFarlane Spider-Mans, and I had those during a time when I was doing a lot of moving, and I sold my collection. Man, if I would have kept all those, because I've always been a multiple copies guy, probably could have bought a house with them.
Yeah.
A good down payment,
I was going to say my second regret would be selling my ASM 300 in the 90s, but right up here, I'm saving that for the 1011. That's special. It's not a first print. I mean, it's not a what you think. That's pretty cool.
We'll look forward to seeing it. All right, so we're gonna go around the horn here. Jim, what's coming up for you, sir?
I don't know. I don't have anything planned. I'm gonna probably. I should have a package or two coming in, so I'll probably do a look at this. Look what I got, but I don't know when I'm going to get out digging again. The weather's so weird up here, and I'm looking at a couple of locations because I love, now that I've got the chest harness, I can film when I find something cool, and I just love making those videos because I love sharing it with people. So I'll get out there. You'll see it eventually.
Coming up on the 1011, we have Cole's Comic Claims. So the mustache will be on the show.
Oh, my Lord.
Right. So, Tony, what's coming up for you, sir? You just released your Dracula video. What else is coming up?
Well, I'm going to do a shout out video where I want to shout out some more YouTube channels. I've really gotten into doing that just because I like spreading the message of other channels. I don't know if I'm gonna do another collection spotlight Tuesday or not. I'm gonna do some shorts, and then of course I'll start working on episode 7 of the spotlight, which I'm either going to do Spawn #1 or Dracula or Batman Red Rain.
Oh,
I haven't decided which one I'm gonna do yet.
Nice.
or which one you're going to do first yet?
Yeah, which one I'm gonna? Yeah, whichever one I do now, I'll do the other one later because they're both excellent books.
Yeah.
Nice. All right. Well, I want to thank our audience. We had a great audience with some great conversations going on, and thank you guys for coming out to support Tony. Again, anyone watching on the rewind, everything that you need to subscribe to Tony is in the description below. Hit those links, sub them up. Also sub up my co-host Jim. So again, everyone in the audience, thank you. Those of you catching on the rewind, thank you. Jim, as always, thanks for being the wingman. And
Thank
Tony,
you, sir.
I really appreciate you coming on tonight. And we look forward to your appearance on the 1011 on the 28th. So guys, mark it on the calendar. You'll see Tony on the channel again.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Oh, it was our pleasure.
Oh, yeah, this was fun.
And until next time, keep it casual.